Hey yo, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy, Sam with Vertical Expressions, back at it again with an episode of Not Another Christian Podcast, and we're going to jump right into it because today we got a jam-packed full day. Oh man, we got a lot to talk about. I know you saw that title. I know you saw the title of the video and you think to yourself, boy, what going, boy? You done messed up. And maybe I did, but it's a conversation we need to have. This time I do have a couple notes because you know what? Well, let's start off with what's first. I know a lot of y'all like that last week's podcast. Last week's podcast was real. I forgot what I talked about. I don't know, but I spoke a lot and people enjoyed it. Y'all was like, yo, fam, that was good money. That was good money. A lot of people was like, bruh. So apparently, Christians didn't like my position on how I see the coronavirus vaccine. Honestly, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Not a shocker, right? That doesn't surprise me. I knew what I was saying when I was saying it. What does surprise me, though, is that Christians felt a particular type of way over what I said regarding responsibility and being used by God. Like if God could use a donkey, and by donkey I mean someone who's not really focused on anything, could use anyone, to fulfill his purpose, then he should especially be using his people, his elected few, his chosen, yada, yada, yada. People didn't like that, right? Because my whole position was, as Christians, we got to do better because we act like we know better is our responsibility. And I'm going to reiterate that. I understand it may have called you out on something. I understand it may have made you uncomfortable. But you got to understand that, man, we've been playing church for so long that for a lot of people, going to church is just going to church. For a lot of people, being a Christian is just being a Christian, right? It's just a label. It's just a title. Let me tell you something. There's so much more to it than just a title. And there are people who have these experiences with God, and they live God-honoring lives without ever being Christians, and they do that because to them, it was never about the title, right? But for a lot of Christians, it is the title, right? I played church, I played dress up, I label myself a Christian, and so that must be it, job completed. No. There's the responsibility that you have when you choose to label yourself a Christian to behave in a Christ-like way. And the very last thing that Christ was like was not involved. Sometimes I feel like Jesus, just mind your business. Holy Spirit, mind your business. I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with, right? I'm being petty. I want to be petty. Mind your business. But God always gets involved. Jesus always got involved. The Holy Spirit always gets involved. And as Christians, it is our responsibility to get involved in the lives that God has placed around us, because you know what? We're supposed to be that beam of shining light. We're supposed to be the light in the darkness. We're supposed to be the breath of fresh air. And quite simply, if you play in church, you're playing dress up, you like the title, I'm a Christian, you say it, but you're doing nothing for your community. You're doing nothing for your brothers and your sisters, your family, your friends, the people that God has entrusted to you. Well, you're like getting 10% of the job done, right? You're showing up to work on time, but for the 8 hours that you're at work, you're doing absolutely nothing. And I hate to break it to you, that's my position. It's not going to change. It's not going to change because you complain. You have a responsibility to, oh man, my baby sister. So, you have the responsibility. Oh, let me lower this. You have the responsibility. Yo, I'm FaceTiming while recording this video right now. You have the responsibility to be the best that you can be, not only for yourself, but for your community. That's what Christianity is about. It's not about the title. It's about who are you going to be when you die? What's your legacy going to be? Who did you help? Who did you impact? And let's just hold that thought. Oh, I got my niece on FaceTime. Hi, princess. It's your tío. She's smiling. You guys can't see her, but she cute. She alright. She does well for herself. I know she's laughing with you, John. Hi, princess. I'm gonna feature you in my video, all right? You too young to be out here on the gram, but she gonna get a shout out. Shout out to my lovely niece. I'm not gonna disclose her name because I don't know if I got permission. That's how it is in 2021, yo. You gotta make sure you sign off your NDAs and all that. All right, guys, I'll call you back in a few. Peace. Bye, princess. Aw. Sorry about that, y'all, but trying to be a good uncle, cause that's what it is, right? I can't be me. I can't be God honoring without loving people, without giving time to the things that matter. And let me tell you, and I suffer from this because I love being active in church. I love doing what I'm doing, and I'm trying to find the balance of how do I serve in ministry while being intently, with intention, I don't know if that's how you say it, involved in the lives of the people around me. How do I best serve my community, not just serving in church, not just playing a role, not just fulfilling that side of things, but how do I serve my community and make sure that if someone's on the ledge, I'm there to offer a word. Someone's ready to just call it quits. I can rest asleep in peace at night because I know that I did what I could, that I was present, that I noticed. Someone's going through a heartbreak, that they're just making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. I know that I was there to do what I could. Someone is just a financial mess. I know that I was there to do what I could. I'm not saying you have to save everybody, but you got to try. Doesn't mean that you're going to succeed. Matter of fact, God doesn't even need you to succeed, but to be present, to be willing and say, God, right now, I don't know who I'm going to run into today, but I pray, God, that you may use me as a vessel, as a breath of fresh air for this generation. Help me to help whoever I can help. Give me the words and the wisdom. Use me. And then be available to the little things you might not notice. People who might need you that you normally wouldn't pay attention to. That's all I was saying. That's all I was saying. If God can use a scientist to provide a miracle, God can use you to provide a miracle. We need more miracles. We need miracle makers. If our God is the way maker, the miracle maker, and he operates through us, then we got to start seeing modern day miracles. We do. What an intro. All right, let's get it. What we talking about today? We talking about what was it? Man, I forgot the title of the video. Something about slavery and choice. Was slavery a choice? Was slavery a choice? Now, this came up because I was having a conversation with someone. Obviously, you guys are seeing the news, everything that's happening. It's just like more and more of the negativity, but you got to cut the news off sometimes because, one, you never really know the full story. But then on top of that, you never know how news how they want to manipulate you, what they're trying to instill in your mind. I do believe that news companies, if they want to provoke hostility, they will, and all they will do is just bash you with negative news, things that are going to provoke you, things that are going to make you angry. And as a black man, I got to be careful, because if I lose my cool, then I lose. You hear that? You black out there, you watching, you don't even got to be black. You could, at this point, you just got to be like maybe a shade under French vanilla. You could be tan, you sort of some cinnamon on that. You know what I mean? If you lose your cool, you lose. And that's what the news is doing. They throwing so much at you, it's impossible for you to not lose your cool, because it's hurtful what you're seeing. It's provocative. It should wake up that moral side of you that says this is not right. But if you go about it the wrong way, you lose. because they set the game up. The system is set up to have you lose, to break you down. So if I lose my cool, I lose. So news, you just gotta back up. But the reason why I wanted to have this conversation was slavery a choice is for many things. The truth is, 2021, I still see slavery all over the place. I'm gonna let that one settle in. I still see slavery all over the place. Obviously things have changed. I'm not pitting cotton on a corner. You know what I mean? I have freedoms. I have freedoms that I think I have. I have freedoms that I know I don't really have, but I'm led to believe that I have those freedoms. Slavery is still very much present. But I had this conversation with a good friend of mine. And y'all remember Kanye West made that comment. He said, man, we were slaves for 400 years. And after 400 years, we were still slaves. 400 years, that's not slavery. That's a choice. That was his position. I was like, this dude got a lot of negative feedback because of what he said. But he didn't say black people chose to be slaves. He didn't say that. He said 400 years in, you were slaves for 400 years. That sounds like a choice. And that got me thinking. Kanye West is low-key much brighter than a lot of people give him credit for. So it got me thinking, what was he talking about? What was he trying to say? What was he trying to communicate? Because in the heat of the moment, it's very easy to have a thought and a lot of your message be lost in translation. And it got me thinking, man, maybe this man was onto something. 400 years. 400 years. What happens in the span of 400 years? That's generations. That's generations and generations and generations. That means that at some point, the original batch of slaves had to die off and leave off the next generation of slaves. And all they knew was slavery. And that got me thinking. That's saying a lot. Right? Because we think 400 years of slavery and we think it was all just one unit, but no, mindsets were different. I'm pretty sure that first batch of slaves were not, I'm pretty sure they were much more hostile in comparison to the batch that came in like year 100, right? I don't know if you guys seen Black Panther, but Killmonger, he says, bury me. Or he compares himself to the slaves that were being brought over. First batch, right? He talks about the slaves that died at sea, you know, just jumping off because it was like, yo, I'd rather die free than live in bondage. And something happens when you're born into a culture. It's all you know. And because it's all you know, your lack of knowledge and wisdom, your lack of sight. If I was born in a bubble and all I ever knew was a bubble, what reason would I have to think that there's anything beyond the bubble? Right? You get that. You're born into slavery. What reason would you have to think that there's more? That there is more to life than slavery. It's all you know. You would never know. And it made me think about God's people. It made me think about Israel, how they were slaves in Egypt, right? And God comes in. They're crying out, not because they were slaves. They were crying out because the work got too hard and just couldn't handle it, right? Let's get this straight. They were slaves. And things were fine. Then Pharaoh comes in, young buck Pharaoh comes in, and he's like, you know what? We're going to make them work 10 times harder. And if they not working 10 times harder, feed them less, hit them harder, right? It was at this point where slavery became intolerable for them. And so they cried out. Pay attention to me because I'm preaching now. No, it's a podcast, but pay attention to me. Slaves, new Pharaoh, higher demand, higher cost. Still slaves, but now the work is too hard to do, man. This is just too much. They start crying out to God. God is like, I'm going to pull you out. And he does. Pulls them out, gets them out of Egypt in dramatic fashion. I mean, dramatic fashion. And then what? free. Free. He ain't never seen freedom before. They ain't never knew a life outside of slavery. And slavery is still very much alive in them. Because it's all that they know. It's all that they knew. And so that generation literally has to die in freedom. A slave generation has to die in freedom so that the next generation born in freedom can go on to live in freedom. And that says a lot. Because I fear that if we don't understand what is happening in terms of lineage and legacy, in what is power and what is growth, man, 1,000 years is like a day for God, and a day like 1,000 years. For us, all we get is 80 to 100 years, and we think that that's life. We think in such a small like window in comparison to eternity, in comparison to of reality. We're just blips along the timeline. But to us, it's a big deal. And the problem is we're thinking so short term because we're thinking for our own lives. And we're not opening up ourselves to think beyond ourselves. Next generation. What comes next? What happens? I feel like the Bible is so big on legacy because it's a legacy that sees progress. We're so selfish that we want to see the progress. We want to see it all unfold during our time. You think about Moses. Moses did a lot. Not even Moses got to see the promised land. Right? And he was such a big part of it. But had he been selfish and said, "Nah, man, I want the promised land. I want nothing but," it probably would have skewed the way things went. Let me get back on track. Is slavery a choice? I don't think that slavery is a choice. But I think that there are choices to be made about slavery. Because like I said, I feel like we're living slaves now. Do you guys know that we live in the most connected generation of all time? Like, when I say connected, I mean we have access to this, right? I can record a video and have a conversation with my niece. I can learn whatever I want to do. If I don't know how to run DAW, if I don't know how to set up a microphone, if I don't know how to play an instrument, if I don't know how to style my hair, if I don't know how to do anything, I just got to go online and it's there. We live in a generation of abundance, information, and yet it seems like the higher the potential for better quality of life goes, the lower the quality of life is. Why? Well, I believe it's because we're still slaves. I believe it's because we're still modern day slaves. We're still modern day slaves. This generation is crippled by social media. It's just not even a question anymore. It's so much so that, documentaries have come out. It is public knowledge that social media is poison. Every time you go on, it is mentally disrupting you. It is bad for you. It is bad for you. The effect of social media, the effect of being so connected, what it carries isn't worth it, but it feels good. Just like every good addiction, it feels great. And guess what? It's legal, which means that you can never have too much of it. Not up until you kill yourself because of it. Not until you ruin your life because of it. And even not then, because you wrong decision after wrong decision, 40 years in, you're probably looking back, well, oh, I made a mistake. And that's the generation that we're living in. So I'm sorry, but I feel like we're more slaves today than we were. I don't know how many years ago that was, man. Like 600 years ago, whenever slavery was happening. I really don't know. I didn't like social studies. I'm gonna be honest with you. Not my area of expertise. So what do we do? Because as of right now, we're still choosing slavery. Right now, slavery is a choice. You know exactly what you're getting. There's no excuse. It is public knowledge, the impact that social media has on your mind, on your soul, on your emotions, on every different facade, whatever. Every different layer or part of you. It's public knowledge. You're still running to it though. That's a choice. And you might say, well, addiction is never a choice. But at some point, someone who wants to change has to change. And real quick shout out. I know I shouted him out before, but Tony's turn. He just dropped 2 videos on addiction. Go check them out because you might learn something. And it's easy to think, oh, because he's maybe talking about alcohol abuse or drugs, that doesn't apply to me. And that's the lie. Drugs are chemicals. They're substances that provoke your body to release substances. Well, guess what? Social media and the effect that social media has on your mind and your body causes your mind to produce substances. Causes you to feel some type of way. That dopamine hit makes you feel accomplished when you've done absolutely nothing. You wonder why this generation is so complacent. Why it's so stagnant. It's because you have the feeling of success without doing anything at all. And unfortunately, there's been a generation that was born directly into that, and that's all that they know. Now, what choices are we making today to merit the idea that slavery is not a choice? Because I'm putting this on you. I mean, I made my decision. 2013, I remember. I mean, Instagram became a thing in 2011. I got on it in 2011. And in 2013, I quickly recognized, and this doesn't have anything to do with Christianity. Just social media was literally getting in the way of my life. Gotta get rid of it. And I got back on social media when I got on for when I started Vertical Expressions as a way to, project the page and do all this and that. And I found I was definitely heading up. A couple months, had a couple thousand followers. Things were looking good. Things were looking up. And I was slowly losing bits and pieces of myself to the game. And this is not even worth my soul. I don't care how many followers I have. I don't care how many subscribers I get. It is not worth me. Who I am, my mind, my ambitions, what I can do for the people around me, my focus, it is not worth the essence of me. It's not worth the purpose that God has placed in me. And unfortunately, social media has it's just pulled out the potential out of a generation that had the potential to change this world, right? And instead of us going up, we're going down, right? Why? Because we're still slaves to this new era. You guys think, me personally, this is just me sharing my thoughts. This is a podcast, by the way. I can't imagine that a slave owner would want to go outside. I'm sure there were racists out there, like evil people, evil hearts that were just like, yeah, man, I really want to, beat this person up because, I'm completely empty inside and I want to feel something. I don't think it would be pleasurable for me to have to go out, chase a slave that ran away, be cold, be hot, deal with all that nonsense, drag him back. It just seems like a lot of work. And if I were a slave owner, I would want to think, well, how can I simplify this process? Well, guess what? the system, the new slave owners, they figured it out. They don't have to chase you down. You're signing up. You're signing your life away. You're signing your life away. You are telling them, this is what I want. Give it to me. And they give it to you. They do. They freely provide. Public knowledge. You post a photo, doesn't get much likes. You get off of Instagram. They'll send the likes. They'll promote your photo. Make sure you get it. Just enough likes to keep you back on the hook. Right? And while you're on the hook, they'll sell you on whatever they want to sell you on. I'm 100% convinced that a lot of the thoughts this generation has isn't even their own, which is sad. Is slavery a choice? And I know you guys can feel like, oh man, this dude is just attacking. But this is something that breaks my heart. Why? Well, I do believe that I'm just a blip. What happens next is important to me. If I don't influence what happens next, then I did nothing in my lifetime. If Moses doesn't get the people out of Egypt, the next generation never goes on to establish Israel. Right? If David never becomes successful, then Solomon never builds that extravagant temple. It's connected. We are responsible for what we do while we are here, even more so as people. It's nothing to do with Christianity or religion or none of that. We are responsible for what we do while we are here. And the enemy of success is success. Why do I say that? Because the minute you begin to feel successful, mission accomplished, well, there's no more mission. I know that's not how people say it. The enemy of success is something else, but that's the way I say it. The enemy of success is success. You feel successful and, well, what's the point? That's it. Mission accomplished. And that's what social media has done. So many lives. You feel so accomplished over nothing. And what you were supposed to do for the next generation never came to fruition. And legacy dies. And lineage dies. And the story just ends abruptly. And that's death. And that should be mourned. And the loss of a generation should be mourned. It should hurt. It should move us. But that's the podcast, y'all. That's the rant. It's the podcast, is the rant. That's how I feel. Time for the word of the day. Time for the word of the day. And y'all know I'm going through 1 Samuel. Let me see. I highlighted it. Oh, this is good. I didn't even mean it to be this way, but this plays perfectly into exactly what I'm talking about. It's crazy. You're gonna have to follow me. Follow me through this journey. All right. Let's go here. All right. So let me catch you up on what's happened before. So Saul, he's pretty, he's tall, he's about to be king, right? You guys with me? Pretty, tall, about to be king. God has already told Samuel, that's the guy. He's been elected. This is his story. His family, his father loses some sheep, or I don't remember what it was. Loses some sheep, I think, or cattle, and he's out looking for the sheep. I'm going to start reading. This is 1 Samuel 9, 4. So he passed through the hill country of Ephraim and through the area around Cilicia, but they did not find them. They went on into the district of Shalem, But the donkeys, they were donkeys, were not there. Then he passed through the territory of Benjamin, but they did not find them. Verse 5. When they reached the district of Zuph, Saul said to his servant who was with him, "Come, let's go back, or my father will stop thinking about the donkeys and start worrying about us." Seems honorable, right? Seems like this guy's concerned. He cares. Okay. All right. Yeah. But the servant replied, Look, in this town there is a man of God who is highly respected, and everything he says comes true. Let's go there now. Perhaps he will tell us what way to take. 7. Saul said to his servant, "If we go, what can we give the man? The food in our sacks is gone. We have no gift to take to the man. What do we have?" The servant answered him again, "Look, I have a quarter of a shekel of silver. I will give it to the man of God so that he will tell us what way to take." Haha, I'm about to go in. Oh, if you thought I was being aggressive, you have no idea what's about to come at you. Saul. Oh my goodness. I'm asking for the grace to say this correctly. We were talking earlier about titles, right? We were talking about the doers, the doers and the don'ts. I find it extremely interesting what happened here, and it's a small detail. But here we are introduced. We've just been introduced to the will-be king, first king of God's people. And he seems to be good for absolutely nothing. I thought I would say this in a more elegant way. I thought I would add a little bit more buffer. I thought I would take my time with this. But I'm going to get directly to the point because I'm already fired up and I'm feeling some type of way. And I don't know if that's evident, but I'm feeling some type of way. Saul, about to be king, is looking for the donkeys. This man was commissioned to find the lost donkeys. Starts looking. No success. All right, let's go back. Because our father will worry about us more than he would the donkeys. You know what I see? The mission was find the donkeys. I'm on a mission to find the donkeys. When did it become make sure we're safe, good, and provided for? Right? I see Saul putting himself above the donkeys. Or our God will worry more about us than the donkeys. Are you not capable? Should he not trust you? Why were you sent on this mission? Because you're somehow lower than a donkey? You'll get lost? Think about that for a second. Donkeys are animals. And they're known to be pretty, stupid. Not the right word, but I'll just say it. He somehow... You think that your father, who put his trust in you, is somehow going to begin to worry more about the young man with a brain, the guy who's about to be a king, the guy who's supposed to be a leader, the guy who should be able to handle himself. You think that you're somehow going to become the object of worry over the mindless animals that are just roaming around, that can be killed, that can be taken, that really can't do much for themselves? How did you become so important? How did you become of greater importance in this situation, Saul? I asked myself that. Not only does he cowardly do that, my father's going to worry about us, let's forget the donkeys. That's essentially what he's doing. He got tired, lazy. He's looking for an excuse to make him feel good about the fact that he's not looking anymore. Why do I know that? Well, I know that later on in the chapter, he doesn't go home. If your father would be worried about you, it doesn't matter if now there is a game plan or there's a chance to find the donkeys. He's still going to worry, so you would go. But that wasn't the case, right? He didn't find the donkeys. He was ready to give up until his servant provided the answer. It was the servant's idea to go see the man of God. Saul had already given up. The servant says, let's go see the man of God. What does he do? Objection. Let's find an excuse. He doesn't say, no, I really think our father will worry. He says, well, we have nothing to give them. We have no food. Look, we're barely struggling ourselves. Just self-consumed, self-focused, selfish, just thinking about him, forgetting the mission. And the servant again provides and says, look, I have this. And then Saul's like, whatever, let's go on. This is the guy that's about to be king. And we all know what kind of king Saul grows up to be. Same coward, same lack of commitment, same impatience. Everything that was already there in our introduction to Saul, in seeing him lead, in seeing him be someone of value, in seeing him as a soldier on a mission, we saw all of it. We saw all of it before he became a king. He didn't have to become king for me to know what kind of king he was going to be. Now, why do I bring this up? And why is this important to me? Why did this jump off the page? Why did I make this the Bible verse of the week or the Bible study of the week? Well, it's because I think about King David. Here, let's talk about Saul again. Here's the man, has God on his side because God already told Samuel that he was the one. Has favor on his side because he's taller and prettier than everybody else. He stood out of the crowd. And he's a coward. He does not know how to work hard. He's impatient. He's spoiled. Now, let's talk about our next king. Let's talk about the guy who succeeds him. David. You know when we really get to see our first a glimpse of who David is when he walks up to an army base and sees Goliath. And what happens? He's rejected by his brothers. He's rejected by the king. No one believes in him. No one believes in him. His father hid him. Samuel's like, yo, one of your sons, man, he's going to be king. His father doesn't even consider him. And what happens next? When faced with the mission, his excuse is, he's told, don't do it. Let's see, if Saul's father would have looked at Samuel, technically he would have been like, don't even try it. You stand no chance against Goliath. Stop, bro, go home. Shouldn't you be doing this and that? And you know what Samuel said? You know what David says? He says, man, when I've on my mission of life, man, I fought bears. I fought lions. I'm so ready for this. Man, you don't got to believe me. I don't need your favor. I don't need a title. I'm ready for this. And guess what? He goes on to conquer Goliath. We all know the story. But the parallel between the two. We have Saul. We have a man that has everything going for him. Title and everything and no substance. He's a shell. A shell. A shell of the role. On the other hand, we have David. Man, no one believes in this kid. He's just a kid. No one cares. But inside of him, substance. Inside of him is the will to get the job done. Inside of him are the qualities of a king. Why do I bring this up and why do I feel like it correlates? Well, it's because we live in a generation where on the outside, there's so much favor. There's so much abundance. You look free. And inside, you're a slave. Inside, there is nothing. Inside, there is fear. Inside, there is addiction. Inside, you're just crippled. And I'm not attacking you. I know these things because I've seen it in myself. And I ask myself, why do you feel the way that you feel? Why do you feel the way that you feel and what's holding you back? And the truth is that I've been born into things that have kept me small. And two, I've just been too afraid to do anything else, too afraid to change. Change is really hard work, but it's possible. because I see myself transforming into a man of substance. I see morals being built in me as life progresses. As I get older, I'm just recognizing I don't have to be a slave anymore. And the things that I thought would be permanent in my life are changing. And I want to spread this message of hope and say, I really don't care what it is. You have the power and the potential to change your outcome, but it starts with you. It starts with you choosing to continue to find the solution when you're out looking for the donkeys. It starts with you defending yourself on why you're there in the first place when you show up and people just want to say, hey, you don't belong here. It starts with you finding the confidence, finding your purpose, finding your direction. And I'm going to say it, not even in what God has to say. Because Saul didn't care about whether or not God had already chosen him. He was so full of himself. And a lot of people want to put the blame on God. Oh, trust God's purpose. Oh, trust what God has for you. Well, you know what? Trust yourself first. Can't trust God if you don't trust yourself. Insecurity is insecurity. You have to be willing to do more. You have to be willing to try harder. You have to be willing to be more of you. My headphones are falling off. You have to be willing. And I don't know. I'm emotional. I'm tight. I'm upset. I'm heartbroken. I'm feeling a lot of things right now. It's probably why I got to end this podcast. It's been real. Yo, it's your boy Sam with Vertical Expressions, man. And again, say your piece, man. Speak your part. Drop a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know how you feel. If I offended you, sorry, not sorry. Not really sorry at all. But I don't know. You guys are seeing me vulnerable right now. I'm really at a loss for words because I just don't know what I can do to help. I don't know if making a video and talking about it is enough. You know what you can do to help though? Share this. Share this with your youth. Share this with your team. Share this with your people. Share this with yourself and believe it. Give it a chance. I know it's a hard pill to swallow when you feel like you're being attacked. I know it's hard to listen to correction, but God only corrects the ones that love him. Think about that. There are a lot of people who get corrected and it's just in one ear and out the other. The fact that you're taking a moment to think twice, maybe, it's already a glimpse that God is on your side, man. Pray for that teachable spirit. Pray for that open heart and just grow and get better. Love y'all. It's been real. Another episode of Not Another Christian Podcast. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.